Need a hair rubber band. Oh, hello. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, whatever the case may be. Welcome to Cross Examinations Live. Today's topic, Star Wars and Scripture. Yes, Star Wars and Scripture. Do they have anything to do with one another? Let's dig in and find out. But first, let me... Yes, Star Wars. How come I can never pause that fast enough? Let me do the standard share of the Twitters. And I hope you will all do this with me. Here we go. Live now. Hashtag Star Wars. Hashtag Jesus. Hashtag Bible. Tweet. All right. Everyone else, if you're willing and would, please share that out. Throw some social media love our way, and let's get this group going. All right. Hi, folks, and Mike, what's up? Withheld, rather not say. D&D is not satanic, he says. All right. Hello, Ray Thulu, Star Wars and Scripture. Huh? Well, if Narnia and Lord of the Rings can be compared to the Christ story, so can Star Wars. Obi-Wan sacrificed himself to save the galaxy. Money says, oh, too bad. I just get home from work and I have to go pick up my daughter. I'll be late for this. Sorry. So hello, everybody. Let's go ahead and jump into yesterday's commentary, which was short, so that we can jump into this topic, because I get the strange feeling you guys are going to talk about this for a while. So I'm going to jump in before the half-hour mark. Withheld said yesterday about, is the UK anti-Christian, from Cross Examinations episode 108. That makes this episode 109. Moving right along, aren't we? Jeez. I'm sorry about getting too mad about all that. I think I'm being disrespectful when I say that Richard Dawkins wanks to Christian persecution in the Middle East. I'm too much of a bitter pessimist sometimes. Well, Withheld, we all have our dark moments. And that was actually the only comment for the day, so we can jump into this. But what I am going to actually jump into is... So here's the thing. The new Star Wars, actually, I don't know. Let me share it. For those who have not seen it, I'm just going to follow a little timeline here of why I'm doing this topic. First of all, I mentioned the other day how I was a fan of the Star Wars novels, right? And someone... or actually a number of people were like, why aren't you doing Star Wars stuff on your channel? And I'm like, because that's Ethan's thing, and I don't want to, like, try to take over, or not take over, but I can't compete with Ethan on that front. And honestly, I disagree. I don't have the kind of vitriol against the newer Star Wars stuff. I see the problems, but I don't have a hate on for it, like the Geeks and Gamers guys, and like Ethan and everybody just hating on this stuff, and I just don't have that much hate in me for Star Wars. But this pops up this morning, and I'm like looking at it, and I'm like, oh, Knights of Ren, and you've got, oh, who's that character, and what is that character? I'm like all interested in this poster, and I'm like, man, I should do Star. And so I've been thinking about Star Wars like all morning. And like the Jedi versus the Sith, and the light versus the darkness. It keeps coming back, right? The light side of the Force versus the dark side of the Force. And then, lo and behold, what is my scripture? You guys know we finished John 11 yesterday, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm in John 12 today. Bam. John 12. And I'll just read it until I get to the applicable part that I was like, okay, this is confirmation. I need to talk about Star Wars. So John, sorry, my mic was backwards. That's weird. John chapter 12, verse 1. Then Jesus, 6 days before the Passover, came to Bethany
where Lazarus, which had been dead, whom he raised from the dead. There he made him a supper, and Martha served, but Lazarus was one of them that sat at the table with him. Then took Mary a pound of ointment of spikenard, very costly. By the way, this would cost about a year's wage, just for context of what very costly is. And anointed the feet of Jesus, and wiped his feet with her hair, and the house was filled with the odor of the ointment. Then saith one of his disciples, Judas Iscariot, Simon's son, which should betray him, why was not this ointment sold for 300 pence and given to the poor? He said, not that he cared for the poor, but because he was a thief and had the bag, and bare what was put therein. Then said Jesus, let her alone. Against the day of my burying hath she kept this. For the poor ye always have with you, but me ye have not always. Much people of the Jews therefore knew that he was there. I would assume because of the smell. And they came not for Jesus' sake only. I'm just kidding. I'm being a little facetious. But they might see Lazarus also, whom he had raised from the dead. But the chief priests consulted that they might put Lazarus also to death, because that by reason of him, having been resurrected from the dead, many Jews went away and believed on Jesus. On the next day, much people that were come to the feast, when they heard that Jesus was coming to Jerusalem, took branches of palm leaves and went forth to meet him and cried, Hosanna! Blessed is the King of Israel that cometh in the name of the Lord. And Jesus, when he had found a young ass, sat thereon, and it is written, as it is written, Fear not, daughter of Sion, behold thy king cometh, sitting on an ass's colt. These things understood not his disciples at the first, but when Jesus was glorified, then remembered they that these things were written of him, and that they had done these things unto him. The people, therefore, that was with him, when he called Lazarus out of his grave and raised him from the dead, bear record. For this cause the people also met him, for that they hath heard that he had done this miracle. The Pharisees therefore said amongst themselves, Perceive ye not how he prevaileth nothing? Behold, the world is gone after him. How ye prevaileth nothing? And there were certain Greeks among them that came to worship at the feast. That's an interesting thing right there, that Greeks would also come worshiping him, right? The same came therefore to Philip, which was of Bethsaida of Galilee, and desired him, saying, Sir, we would see Jesus. Philip cometh and telleth Andrew, and Andrew and Philip tell Jesus, and Jesus answering them, saying, The hour is come that the Son of Man should be glorified. Verily, verily, I say unto you, except a corn of wheat fall into the ground and die, it abideth alone. But if it die, it bringeth forth much fruit. He that loveth his life shall lose it, and he that hateth his life shall keep it unto life eternal. If any man serve me, let him follow me, and where I am, there shall also my servant be. If any man serve me, him will my Father honor. Now is my soul troubled, and what shall I say? Father, save me from this hour? But for this cause I came unto this hour. Father, glorify thy name. Then came there a voice from heaven saying, I have both glorified it and will glorify it again. I should have Edwin do that voice. The people, therefore, that stood by and heard it said that it thundered. Others said, an angel spake to him. That interests me, that people heard it differently, right? People's, I don't even know if it's perspective or just a spiritual attuneness. I don't know what it is, but right there it says some people heard it one way, some people heard it another. And this kind of adds to what some people might see as contradictions in scripture. It's like, there's different perspectives on and different ways people perceive things. So here you have it in just one single line of scripture. Some heard it one way, some heard it another. That's I guess the way the Holy Spirit works. Jesus answered and said, This voice came not because of me, but for your sakes. Now is the judgment of this world. Now shall the prince of this world be cast out. Right there, Jesus is claiming that Satan is the prince of earth. Pretty crazy. And I, if I be lifted up from the earth, shall draw all men unto me. This he said, signifying what death he should die. The people answered him, We have heard out the law that Christ abideth forever. And how sayest thou, the Son of Man must be lifted up? Who is this Son of Man? Then Jesus said unto them, Yet a little while is the light with you. Walk while ye have the light, lest darkness come upon you. For he that walketh in darkness knoweth not whither he goeth. While ye have light, believe in the light, that ye may be the children of light. These things spake Jesus and departed, and did hide himself from them. And boy, that is that for me, that was like a confirmation. Okay, talk about this. Talk about this. Let me see. Let me jump back here. Pop out chat. So here's the thing. The thing I don't appreciate about where Star Wars is going with spoilers. I'm sure you guys have all seen the Last Jedi. The entire history of the light and the darkness in the Force in Star Wars, starting with I think the birth of the Sith. The Sith was its own race. It has always been a conflict. It has always been good versus evil, right? You've always had that. And I'm going to jump forward, and I'm going to start at the beginning, Sith, to where we are now, which is what I do not like, because I feel like you've had this constancy of good versus evil, light versus darkness, good versus evil, light versus darkness. This has been the constancy throughout all of Star Wars, right? Am I right? Am I right? And now you have Luke coming in and saying it's time for the Jedi Order to end. It's this whole balance of the Force thing. Actually, that's maybe, golly. Okay, I might be wrong, because going back to this god awful prequels, that was the prophecy of the one who would bring balance to the Force. You can't balance light versus darkness, right? You can't balance light versus darkness. Light has to win. That is the entirety, right? And so Luke saying we have to get rid of the Jedi, it I don't know, to me it tastes like this what is it? Moral relativism. Like they're introducing moral relativism into Star Wars, as opposed to this clear delineation between good and evil, darkness and light. They're like, well, let's Game of Thrones this sucker up, and we'll instead maybe the next episode will be Darth Maul. What life was like for Darth Maul, and why, if you follow his story, you can see that he's really the good guy, right? There's all this moral equivalency. All of this moral equivalency that just destroys what great conflict in stories are and whatnot. And again, I don't hate everything about these movies. And again, that's why I didn't want to kind of delve into this area, because it seems like everybody in this community just hates the new Star Wars movies. And I get it. I can see the problems, and I concede the problems. But I don't hate them with any level of just puerile hatred. I don't feel okay. This, I think, is probably the greatest problem, because it's not. I was never a huge fan of Luke Skywalker, and I actually thought that Luke Skywalker's story arc in The Last Jedi was the best Luke Skywalker story arc in all the movies, because he actually had he starts in a moment of despair, a life of despair and retreat and unmeasurable grieving to where he's thrown away everything he's ever believed in. And that happens to people, right? Grief does amazingly torturous things to people. I've been there. I didn't let myself go into the dark side, but he didn't. He just cut himself off. He just cut himself off. And I understand that. That's an understandable thing. Whether or not how that played out to get to that point made any sense, that's not the issue. I'm saying that where he was in the beginning and where he brought himself back up to be the hero they needed at the moment, I enjoyed that story arc in The Last Jedi. Whereas I thought Luke was just a whiny freaking crybaby the whole first movies. Anyways, yeah, it's funny. Luke Skywalker is not my favorite character. It's Han Solo is my favorite character, and now he's dead. But anyways, the through line of the entire 13 billion year history of the Star Wars universe is that of light versus darkness. And so if there was anything to really lay your foot down and say, this is why they're screwing up Star Wars, it is taking the Force and creating a moral equivalency argument out of it, making it moral relativism rather than true light versus true darkness, true good versus true evil, right? Now, are you guys just having random Star Wars arguments in the chat? See, okay, maybe this was a bad idea. But it also made me think of where the Jedi, I don't know, where you could actually take this. If you look at the Jedi Order, and okay, so all right, life began on Coruscant, right before it was called Coruscant. It's like the foundation stone of the Star Wars universe, and then somehow or another they traveled to different planets, and they blah 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 populated different planets, and then on, I can't remember what the other place was, one of the original Jedi planets, they formed the Jedi. I'm trying to remember what it was. The Jedi and the Sith. Not the Sith. The Sith had their own planet. The Sith was their own race who embraced the dark side. You guys in the chat can help me out with this because I'm a little bit fuzzy on everything. I haven't been studying Star Wars for 20 years. I just but Coruscant was like the oldest human planet, high technology, and all that stuff. And then the Jedi came back to Coruscant. I think they were a colony. I think all the planets in the universe were either human colonies or human whatever hybrid colonies, whatever of the other humanoids on whatever other planets or whatnot. But the Jedi came back to Coruscant, or came to Coruscant from wherever their origin source was, and became the cops. Right? They basically became the cop. They became the Jedi High Council, and were there to maintain the peace. Church Bell says Tython. Sith race mixed with Dark Jedi and became the Sith as we now know them. Thank you, Fire Dragon. And I think that may have been the religion. So if you compare that to Christianity, right? It's like before the Jedi mingled with the government, they were a pure force for light, right? A pure force for the light side of the Force. You can compare this to Christianity when Constantine legalized, not just legalized, but then made Christianity religion. Prior to Constantine, Christians were fighting the pure force for Christ, the pure force for light, as it's described in the Bible, for light. Jedi were fighting for the light. Christians were fighting for the light. They were both being killed, right? So you have this parallel because once Christianity was legalized and then normalized and then made the state religion, you birthed corruption in Christianity. You birthed people who would claim to be Christians for social hierarchy or for political goodwill, right? Just like politicians today. Like, I guarantee you all those guys up in Washington saying they're Christians ain't a mile near Christianity, right? But they say they are because it gets them votes and whatnot. So when you have the church mingling with the state, you beget the corruption and essentially what led to the Dark Ages, right? And so likewise, I think that on Coruscant, when the Jedi Order became the political power of Coruscant, this is where you start the sort of normalizing or whatever. You take them away from that pure faith, light versus evil battle, and then you get the corruption, and you get people like Palpatine, Sidious rising, getting into power, the corruption of Coruscant, and the Galactic Senate in general, right? All of this corruption takes place when you normalize, when you I guess when you could say when you mix church and state. The Jedi Order should have remained apolitical, right? It should have remained apolitical. It should never have come under the power or under the direction of any state, even if it's the oldest state. I mean, Rome was at the time, maybe not the oldest, but it was the greatest power. It was the greatest power on certainly this side of the planet, possibly the entire world. Hi, Eden. And likewise, Coruscant was in. So it's a very similar sort of a transition, right? Gosh, yeah. But then you had the darkness rise up, corrupt the light, defeat the light. Theodosius. I said Theodorus. I did have the helmet. You guys broke it. Not you, but the kids broke. I had a Star Wars helmet. Not a Star Wars, a Darth Vader helmet I bought in 1996 at Disneyland. And I had it just for decades and decades. And then my kids broke it. Because they break everything. That's just what they do. Could you find one of my lightsabers?
Okay. In there?
Yeah, they're in there.
Foam ones?
No, the real ones. Cloudy the mind becomes when power you seek. Blame all the kids. I do. I blame the kids. So, let's see. Yeah, there was that. I saw that similarity in the Jedi Order. It sort of became the Catholic Church, right? And then so the Pope is Darth Vader. No, the Pope is not Darth Vader. And when Anakin does see all this corruption and whatnot, oh my gosh, that needs a new battery, doesn't it? That is not bright at all. Oh, it needs new batteries. I used to have like 5 of these things.
There's 3 of them back here.
There are still 3?
I don't know how many of them work.
I had the Anakin, I had the Luke, I had the Yoda, I had the Darth Vader, I had the Mace Windu.
Yeah, these on me.
They need new batteries. Going? What was I even talking about?
Yeah, this was mine. I think this one.
That's the Mace Windu. Mace Windu. Oh yeah, I was saying that when Anakin realized the corruption in the Jedi Council, it could have gone the other way. It could have gone the Martin Luther route, right? Where he's like, I see this corruption and I want to fix. I want the Jedi Council to see the problems and the corruption and the failings in this politicized, what is supposed to be a politicized or a religion of light, right? And that's what Jedi is. It's religion. Being a Jedi, it's very much being like a monk, right? Although there you go. There's another problem. You have the same problem in the Jedi rules that you have in the Catholic rules, which is you can't get married, which leads in Catholicism. I don't know. I don't want to say it leads to pedophilia, but it sure as hell doesn't help that you're bottling up all these people's testosterone because you're not letting them get married. And then, hey, that little boy's got a nice, sorry. But you have the same thing that in the Jedi Order. Why can't a Jedi have a spouse? Why can't a Jedi have love? Marriage leads to emotions. When the Jedi embrace emotions, it leads to the dark side, which is ridiculous. I'd like to know. See, that's the thing. Is that a policy that arose after the politicalization, after it became a church state thing, right? Because if you look back to the core religion prior to Constantine, prior to Catholicism putting those rules in, Christians were encouraged to be married. In the Bible, it says if you are a leader, a deacon, a bishop of a church, you are to have one wife. You are supposed to have one wife.
Why not 5 wives?
Because if you're a leader of a church, you ain't got time for 5 wives. So I'm curious. I don't know if one of you knows when that Jedi rule was put into place. If we're following the same timeline as we do with Christianity and the Catholic Church, and there are, again, similarities. When was that put into place? And was that a bad rule? Obviously it was a bad rule, because look what it did to Anakin. That's what set Anakin up for his downfall, right? It wasn't that love turned him into Darth Vader. It's that he had to hide his love. He had to bury his love. And he may not have been a pedophile, but he went and killed a bunch of little kids, didn't he? He stuck his lightsaber into little boys. That's all I'm saying. And that might have been symbolic for my gosh, why is my phone buzzing so much? Not the younglings. Well, it's accurate. It is accurate. Rome didn't institute clerical celibacy until the 11th century, and it was all downhill from there. Those poor younglings. Oh, here's another problem I have. Sorry, this is not religious or anything. So Yoda says that Anakin, who was, 7 years old at the time, I think? Right? I think he was like 7 years old at the time. Yoda says Anakin is too old to begin the training of a Jedi, right? In the books, people are discovered to have Jedi powers because they have inordinate luck or inhuman skill, right? They discover people. He was 9 years old? Oh, okay. They discover that people have Jedi powers, right? How are they just drafting 3-4-year-old kids, 2-3-year-old kids, into, I mean, how was there some sort of a force? I don't know. Maybe the Jedis can feel that. Just, I guess they can, because Darth Vader did. The force is strong with this one. Maybe they could just feel the force in certain kids. So, never mind. I'll take that one back. It just keeps getting darker on cross-examinations. Well, this is dark versus light. Look at Rey. She was like 34. And Luke was 17. So Luke was 17. If Jedi has attachments, it makes them less likely to focus on the Force. Yeah. I'm just curious, again, when that rule took place. If a Jedi has attachments, I mean, like I said, in the Bible, you are to have family, because, you know, when you have a family, when you have kids, you understand to a far greater extent the love that God has as a father for his children when you are a father and you have your own children. That understanding is 100-fold for those of us who are fathers, and those who are not. So, yeah, I don't know. Elric says, I use the Force mind trick to take Force-sensitive babes from their families. Yeah, that's another thing. They just kidnap children from their families to raise. So I can understand Anakin's perspective about all of the failings of the Jedi Order. But what I think he should have done is, I mean, if they were going to model this after like the Reformation, is not join Satan, but, you know, hammer the 95 Theses to the wall of the Senate. These are the things that are wrong, and these are the things that are going to destroy the Jedi Order if you allow them to continue. Right?
It's on.
Hey! The battery, they all need new batteries because they're not glowing.
What's going on?
Perkindo says, it wasn't until around 4000 before the Battle of Yavin, however, that the Jedi began to forbid marriage and attachment after the Great Sith War. Prior to that, it wasn't an issue. There you go, Perkindo. So it wasn't always a requisite of the Jedi Order. Thank you, Perkindo. That is great information.
How does he know?
Did you know that already, or did you just look it up, Perkindo? And I don't mind either way. I should be looking these things up myself. But Mike, from his point of view, the Jedi are evil. Church bell. Well, those movies are terrible. Church. The writing, the acting, the directing in the prequels was horrible. But I mean, they're canon, so you have to, I guess, deal with that. And I get confused. Does anyone know the dialogue was terrible? The dialogue was terrible, but it drives me nuts because, you know, you had Ewan McGregor, you had Natalie Portman. Love lifts us up where we belong. Eagles fly on a mountain high. And you have Liam Neeson. 3 actors. I love these 3 actors. I think they are great, and I love watching them in almost everything they do. And somehow George Lucas managed to get them to deliver the very worst performances of their entire careers. I blame George Lucas. Perkindo, it's the loss of attachments that is the issue. The effects might lead them down the path of darkness. But that effect also has the opposite effect. Who was it? There were 2 Sith, I believe they were brothers. And when one of them died, the loss of that attachment led him to the light side. So it can work either way, can it not? Anybody know the brothers I'm talking about? Darth, mind blanking. Dang it. Someone will know. I got so many Star Wars fans in the chat here. Imagine if Qui-Gon had rescued Anakin's mother and set her up with a good life in a safe place. How would that have changed the sequence of events? Right? If it right? I mean, exactly. They abandoned his mother. They took a child. We're going to take your child. There was no reason they couldn't have come back and gotten the mother. No reason at all, except for, gosh, I hate to say it. Gail Simone might be right. They fridged her. They refrigerated Anakin's mother just to lead him down the dark side of the path, dark side of the Force. Gork and Pick? That doesn't sound right. Was it? Katarn? Knights of the Old Republic was more Star Wars than any recent movies, in my opinion. Oh my gosh. If the Benioff and Weiss Knights of the Old Republic, if it is, I pray it is the Knights of the Old Republic they go to. That is going to be so freaking balls out awesome. Because who is Jar Jar Binks in the Bible? Judas. Well, there's no Christ. There's no Christ figure from.
Then it's Jar Jar Binks.
No. You looking, K. Heldroma? Maybe. Gosh, I forget the names. But I know that happened, right? The attachment of someone he loved. The death of someone he loved attachment brought him to the light side of the Force. So that road goes both ways. So that rule, I do believe, is a corruption. Is a corruption, just like the rule in the Catholic Church of priests not being able to marry. Star Wars is a mixture of Hinduism and as existentialism. Yeah, but as everything, I mean, you can find Christian analogs. You can find biblical analogs in just about anything. And the darkness and the light in the history of Star Wars, good versus evil, is very much a Christian analog. Perkindo, I'm a bit of a Star Wars nerd. LOL. I saw Star Wars in the theater in 1977 at 9 years old and fell in love with it. I believe I was 6 years old. And yeah, same here. Well, except I wasn't 9. I've seen every movie since then on opening night. Had to camp out a couple times even. I know. Oh my gosh. Can you believe it? When what's the freaking first one? I can't even remember the name of what is that? Shirts? Bring those in. Shirts. I'm hoping they are my can you get the shirts, please? The first prequel. Why am I blanking on the name of the first prequel? Okay, this says Fulfillment Company. Hey, we're doing an unboxing, guys. Who wants to see an unboxing? Love lifts us up where we belong. Phantom Menace, thank you. Do you remember the video? There was a video of when Ewan McGregor found out the name of the Phantom Menace. He freaking laughs. He's like, did you hear they unveiled the name of the first Star Wars movie? And he's like, what is it? And he's like, the Phantom Menace. And he's like, are you serious? All right, let's see. Oh, I didn't even order this, but look at that.
Mm-hmm.
Look at that. Oh, man, I got to send him a new art thing without the rabbits on it.
Rabbits.
The rabbits at the bottom.
Daddy.
Oh, more bags. More bags. Is that?
More
Oh,
bags?
I didn't even order these. No. Careful. Those going to have my address on them.
Oh.
Don't show the address.
It's facing me. I'm not dumb.
Oh my gosh.
A lot of them.
Crypto Fashion, you printed the wrong shirt. Ah. I was trying to get my Lone Star shirts, and instead he printed the Comicsgate Alliance shirts. Oh well, I'll have these for sale at dang it.
Are you keeping them?
Oh yeah. Don't just pile them on me. Alright, can you put them someplace? I'll have these for sale at WonderCon if anyone's showing up. Ah. Freaking crypto. All right. Well, so much for that. Still a better name than Attack of the Clones. Can you close the door, please? Thank you. Yeah, Phantom Menace. And now I completely forgot what my point was. What was I talking about before the shirts? Something about the Phantom Menace. Oh yeah. Man, I sat in line for hours and hours to see that movie. And the weird thing was, I liked it. I actually liked it the first time I watched it. But it was because, you ever seen the Eddie Murphy skit where he's talking about crackers? Like, you know, if you haven't had crackers in like a really long time, and then you eat a saltine, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is the best cracker I've ever had in my life. Like, I can't believe how good this cracker is. It's got perfect love. And then after a while, you're like eating the cracker, and you're like, man, this is just a saltine. I think that's what it was with Phantom Menace, because I hadn't had Star Wars in so long, and then the Phantom Menace came out, and I was just like, this is the best cracker in the world. And it wasn't even it was a moldy, soggy saltine. I was just so starving for Star Wars, I couldn't see how bad it was. And now I try to watch that thing, and it is like, I want to scratch my eyes out. That movie's so freaking bad. It was certainly like that with The Force Awakens. Yeah, I saw Force Awakens 4 times in theaters. Looking at it now, I can see the problems with it. I'm not going to hate it, though. I'm not going to hate it. And I was thinking episode 7 wasn't terrible, but come to think of it, I haven't seen it since theater. The Duel of the Fates was good, and Darth Maul looked cool. Now, here's a question, because gosh darn it, I don't know what is canon anymore and what is not, because Darth Maul in was it Rebels? I forget. No, not Rebels. I don't know. Obi-Wan killed Darth Maul, right? And I thought they maintained that those stories were canon. But now Darth Maul is back in Solo. So I don't understand what's going on with canon. I don't understand what exactly is canon and what is not. Yeah, in Clone Wars. And what is not canon. So Maul survived Obi-Wan killing him the second time. Fans saved Maul. Okay. He killed Darth Maul. What? Darth Maul? Yeah.
Again?
Yeah. He's not gonna have time for me. He's gotten a lot busier since I befriended him. Hopefully he'll stop by my booth in WonderCon. He usually comes to WonderCon and comes by my booth.
Oh yeah.
Man was cut in 2 and fell in a big hole. How did he survive that? Mosquito. They gave him robot legs. And apparently robot bowels, because I don't know how he's digesting his food, but he's got robot duel. I haven't seen Solo. And Solo's another one. I can't hate Solo. I understand the problems and I see the problems, and yeah, I don't think they got the right actor for the part. But I can't hate it.
Yeah, there's the guy who's in Adelaide.
Adelaide, yeah. Yeah, that's who we all wanted for him.
He looks just like
He
him,
looks just like, and he sounds just like him.
Mhm.
Well, that would have been perfect. The Joker died like 50 times in the comics. It's pronounced Soilo, Mike. Yeah, and that's why I'm not turning this into a Star Wars channel, right? I really enjoyed Solo. It was fun for what it was. Yeah.
Also, you're not a Star Wars.
There were. Yeah, I'm not a fanatic. I'm not insane about it.
He didn't make us watch the movies when we were younger.
No.
Not until like a year or two ago. We all watched on Elijah's birthday.
That wasn't a year or two ago. That was like
What?
5 years ago.
No, it wasn't.
Heck yeah, it was.
No, it wasn't. It was not that long ago.
I actually enjoyed Solo. I didn't really expect a lot going into it, though. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to. This is supposed to be a Bible show. I don't really want to go into the things I like and dislike about Solo, but I will. No, just kidding. Darn it!
You do the Chewbacca noise.
Rogue One is still the best Star Wars that's been out so far. Of the new films, yes, Rogue One I thought was amazing.
I couldn't watch them.
And the kids hated it. Because it's just too grown up of a story. You know, it's just too not enough laser battles, I suppose. Wookiee duet. I wish the Ewoks were still alive. Never talk Star Wars with us, Mike, unless you want that as the subject. I know, look at every comment in here. Empire is the best Star Wars movie. Interestingly, I felt the way the kids do about Rogue One. I did not like Empire as a kid. And maybe it's just because it ends on such a down note, the same way Rogue One does. But as an adult, I agree with you. It's technically it's the best of the original films. But man, when I was a kid, no, A New Hope was Star Wars was my favorite Star Wars movie. I would never have called it A New Hope until these god awful prequels started. And then Jedi. Yeah, it was Star Wars, Jedi, and then Empire. I still have all my Star Wars cards from the 70s and the 80s. I should get them. I even have the... Close your ears, honey.
No. What do you have?
I have the C3PO penis card. And I have like...
What?
I have like 4 or 5 copies of the edited unpenised card, which technically I believe are more valuable than the penis card itself. Nigerian Prince Jeremy says, "What? I'm not going to show it. You guys can Google it. The C3PO penis card. You'll see it. I'm not posting that on cross-examinations." Look at her face. Which one is Jenna? Okay, so you know what it is. They made Star Wars cards back in the day, right?
Mm-hmm.
So one of the guys in the art department thought it would just be a hoot because there's a picture of C3PO kind of leaning over, and he thought it would be a hoot because the shape of his girdle, whatever thing, hip piece, he just sort of extended it out into a missile-shaped thing. And then when they caught it, that this guy had done it, I don't know if they fired it or fired him. I would assume they fired him. But when they caught it, they stopped producing, edited the card, and then started setting them out. Sans wee wee. Cod piece. David Peterson just Googled it incognito. That's disturbing. Yeah, so yeah, I even have that. Yeah, you know what it is? honestly, I think maybe the reason I wasn't so enthusiastic about Star Wars after my kids were older or of age to start watching Star Wars is because, man, the prequels just killed it for me. I was just a huge Star Wars. I bought all kinds of Star Wars toys. I had all the Micro Machines. I had the freaking. I would buy the all kinds of different toys. But you know why I bought the toys when I was an adult is because my dad wouldn't buy them for me as a kid. And I remember going to Toys R Us. And I'm like, man, these things are like, well, how much were they? Like $4, or maybe even cheaper at Toys R Us. And my dad wouldn't buy them for me. So I only had a handful of action figures. And then I had the X-Wing, and my brother got the TIE Fighter. But that's like, my dad was like so flippin' chintzy about me getting Star Wars toys as a kid. So when I got older, I would buy them. And then when the lightsabers came out, I was like, oh, lightsabers. So I started buying the lightsabers. And those things were not cheap. And then I did a silly thing and started actually playing with them. So they're all beat the crap. Anyways, where was I going? I'm sure we had more of a point to this. This is getting all Star Wars-y and stuff. This doesn't sound like cross-examinations. All right, let's bring this back to Jesus. Qui-Gon Jinn is not Jesus, even though occasionally I'll run across a picture on a Jesus search that does show Qui-Gon Jinn. Yeah, I know. Huh? No. Samuel Jackson. No.
No. I was watching something in acting class about Samuel Jackson.
Oh. Jar Jar is Judas forever. Jedi equals Jews. Right? There you go.
You're not a Jedi.
I am not a Jedi.
You're the only non-Jedi.
C-3PO. My Schwartz is bigger than yours. Palpatine is Jesus. No. See, that's the light versus the darkness. And when, the Sith, who was it? Darth Bane? Was it Darth Bane that killed all the other Sith and then implemented the rule of two? That's when it sort of became sort of the way Satan is in this world, right? It wasn't just a big obvious spiritual battle. You had the rule of two, the Sith in hiding, corrupting people from within, and then you had the High Jedi Council trying, having this veneer of righteousness, right? I don't know. I keep bringing this back to the correlation between the Catholic Church and the way it was corrupted, or Christianity and the way it was corrupted when it became political. And I guess that's kind of the I don't know. Can anyone else think of correlations between Christianity or Judaism, the Bible, and the through line? Because most of you probably know the whole through line, right? Well, maybe not most of you, but a good percentage of you are hardcore Star Wars nuts, and you probably know most of the through lines. So if you have any suggestions, let me hear them. The Empire equals the Roman Empire. See, that's the weird thing. Is the Empire the Jedi Temple is the Jewish temple, says Joseph Meager. Yeah. Well, no, it is an interesting thing. But wouldn't it be not the empire isn't the Roman Empire? Coruscant is the Roman Empire, right? Coruscant is the Roman Empire, and then they established the Church of Jedi, and they built a Jedi temple on Coruscant. So I think that gave rise to, I don't know, I'm trying really hard to correlate it. But the empire wouldn't be the Roman Empire. The empire is more like Nazi Germany than the Roman Empire. Anakin is not Jesus. Anakin is, hey, it's glowing. See, the batteries charge up and then they fade away. They fade away. I wish I still had the Yoda one. Where's the Yoda one? Huh? I'm a Trekkie. I have no clue what you're talking about. Vice Admiral Holdo is Christ-like. I know everyone hated her character, but she willingly sacrificed herself for the greater good. I don't know if that makes her Christ-like, but that made her the captain of the ship, you know? Yeah. It was the same thing with the captain of the other ship on the medical ship. Was it the medical ship? Tico's sister?
Wait.
Tico's sister too? Yeah.
Wait, no,
There's lots of No, I'm talking about yeah. There were several examples of people giving their all for the cause and to save others. So there was lots of, good examples of sacrifice in even in what people are saying is the worst of the movies. Honestly, I would still rather watch The Last Jedi 100 times before I was forced to watch the prequels again. The prequels are so freaking horrific. And Adam Driver is a good actor.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a loose metaphor. Watch Rose Tico be the ultimate messiah. The only thing missing from the mythos is a righteous king. Yeah, maybe. Which one? Anakin could be Jesus.
To a Jew.
To a Jew, Anakin could be Jesus. Wow. No. To a Jew. Why? Anakin sided with Satan for most of his life. Isaiah 5:20. Woe to them that called evil good and good evil, that put darkness for light and light for darkness, that put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. Yes. So the writers, including George Lucas, who are trying to take this, I know he created the whole thing, but still, when he planted that seed of, the Messiah figure who will bring balance to the Force, there is no balance. A Messiah figure destroys darkness, right? That is the point of a Messiah figure. He doesn't bring the Nazis alongside and say, "Oh, come on, guys. We'll just balance all of our beliefs." No. The Messiah figure kills the Nazis, wipes them out. George Lucas is the God of the Star Wars universe. And unfortunately,
Eric is here.
that God was corrupted. Eric. The prequels are way better than the Disney Star Wars. No, I refuse. Those movies are so bad. I can never, ever, ever agree with that statement. Sorry. No.
Eric, do you like Star Wars?
Anakin did kill them. R.E. The Last Jedi ending.
Eric didn't answer me.
The Last Jedi?
Yes.
Anakin.
Does like Star Wars.
I don't understand that, Fire Dragon. Specify. You're wrong, Mike. You're wrong. Earkiss. Lucas was now it's a mouse. No, just on a story-wise, there's significant issues, but on an acting and a directing level, I'm gonna say at least most of them is watchable. But oh my gosh, it's the prequels are so unwatchable. I want to bleach my eyes watching those things. I even watched a version where someone deleted all of the Jar Jar out of the first movie, and while it did make it a little more palatable, what? Oh, it made it a little more palatable. The performances from, again, actors whom I have great respect for were still trash. It was still trash. I couldn't believe it, man. Mickey Mouse Loves Marius says Mike is correct. Balance smacks of dualism. That prophecy in Star Wars is not analogous to anything Christian. Right. And then you have the same prophecy being played out in the latest movie with Luke saying that, it feels like that's where the whole direction is going. And I hope J.J. Abrams can see the error in that way and not try to fulfill this stupid seed of dualist prophecy laid in the prequels, because that concept is what is destroying Star Wars, and the playing out of that concept is what is ruining the overall arching message of Star Wars, in my opinion. You guys can take it or leave it. Misa thinks. Where does it say that?
No, I said that. Jar Jar was the best part, says Nigerian Prince.
Oh. Jar Jar is the true villain of the Star Wars universe. That makes Binks Satan. Honestly, you guys all know the Jar Jar Sith theory. I would have had so much more respect for George Lucas if that was true and he had stuck with his guns through that, because it would have redeemed the Jar Jar character completely. As it is, he was just a horrific, horrible, racist, gouge your eyes out character. I think I've said that twice in this stream.
Worse than Steamboat.
Worse than Steamboat. That's right. That's right. Where is my page? Can't see my page. What did I do with the rest
Christian
of
Slater doing Jar Jar's voice would be the bomb.
Christian Slater doing Misa. Misa Jar Jar. Misa Jar Jar. Yes, sir. Where is my... Oh, gosh, I can't find... there it is. No. I think I must have closed out all my other Jar Jar. Does anybody know how long this show's been going?
Right there.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
Right.
All right. So, we're over an hour. We are over an hour.
No.
Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. We went kind of off of the rails here anyways. Once again, I'll bring it back to scripture. There's light and there's darkness. Follow the light. The Jedi should have maintained their autonomy. They should have remained true to their faith and their religion and never gotten involved with Coruscant politics. And in that sense, yeah, Anakin was right, but he took the wrong route. And all of us have to choose faith, choose light. Don't go into the dark side. Anyways. Anyway, thanks. Thanks, all of you. God bless you. May the Force be with you. And do like and subscribe.
You should have done this show on May 4th.
I should have done this show on May 4th. I'm actually, I might bring my friend Oli on to do an episode later to actually talk specifically about, to talk specifically about this. Because I do want to discuss this. There are so many interesting things about this leaked poster. So, no, I am not turning this into a Star Wars channel. But I may do a little bit of Star Wars here and there. So, thank you, one and all, for being here. Like, subscribe. Hit that bell for notifications. And God bless you guys.